Dallas Cowboys, as you would say here on the graphic here, getting absolutely cooked by the Buffalo Bills. Your final score 31-10. The most encouraging sign for me in this game, I don't really want to talk about Dallas to start. I want to talk about the Buffalo Bills because
That's where I was going to go with it too.
I have been preaching for the last 2 years. Buffalo is too Josh Allen reliant. Josh Allen has to throw over 400 yards. He has to run for 100 yards. And they finally got a running game going with James Cook. Josh Allen, only 7 completions, about 100 yards. Buffalo, to me, looks really good. They look very dangerous. And as I tried to tell you about a month ago, I would not. And again, this team, if they win out, they'll win the division. I would not want to play this team in the playoffs, no matter if they're a wild card, no matter if they somehow come back and win the AFC East. I think this is a very dangerous team.
I'll take it one step further. Not only do I think the Buffalo Bills are going to win the AFC East ultimately, I think they're going to pass the Chiefs. I think Kansas City loses to Cincinnati at home. Buffalo wins out the rest of the way, and they get the number 2 seed in the AFC
Wow.
behind the Baltimore Ravens.
That would be absolutely insane.
It's not out of the realm of possibilities. You look at the rest of Buffalo's schedule, it's the Chargers, who just fired their head coach and gave up 63 points. It's the New England Patriots, and then it's at Miami. Buffalo already pummeled the Dolphins earlier this season, so going down to Miami would be no big deal.
No, I'm going to disagree with you on that. That game was early in the season, week 4 in Buffalo. This is at Miami late in the year. Miami's a different team. Jalen Ramsey is back now. Jalen Ramsey did not play in that game. Going down to Miami in December. How many times have we seen the great Brady and Belichick teams go down to Miami in December and lose? It's very hard to go out of that cold environment to a warm environment with the AFC East on the line. Bills match up very well against Miami, and yes, they have the coordinator change, and yes, they're playing better football, but that is not an easy game for Buffalo, especially which me and you have both said for weeks now could be flexed into Sunday night as the last game of the season.
Oh, I think it will because there's going to be a ton of implications on the line in that game. But I want to shift over to Dallas because you and I were both saying last week, like, oh, this is a great performance by Dallas being what they did against Philadelphia. We both said Dak Prescott was at the front of the line for MVP and all this and that. But remember what I said? I said the Cowboys are like this when they play at home. Can they take their show on the road?
And that's exactly what I said. I compared them to the Detroit Lions. I think them and the Lions are essentially the same team.
And we get to see that matchup in a couple weeks on Monday Night Football in Dallas.
Dome teams that go on the road and struggle. And again, Dallas looked like they were completely out of it 5 minutes into the game. They could not stop the run. And, it really is interesting now because Dallas goes down to Miami, and we're going to get to this. I think it's a very tough matchup for Dallas to go down there and win. Even though I think they'll bounce back, they'll play well. I think the most shocking thing for me is Dallas's run defense defensively was putrid. They couldn't stop James Cook all day. Michael Parsons did not get any pass rush. It wasn't that the offense struggled because Dak Prescott does historically struggle away from AT&T Stadium in December. It's that the defense really did not put up a resistance to a fight to what Buffalo was doing, and Buffalo had their way with them offensively. And again, it's not like Josh Allen had to throw over 350 and they lost in a 41-35 shootout. They got their doors blown off them.
Yeah.
With no sign. And here's the other thing. Sometimes, like the Philly-San Francisco game, right? Like San Francisco blew Philly out. They got their doors blown off them, but they did lead at the end of the first quarter. It was 6-0. They had some drives. They just couldn't finish with touchdowns. In Dallas's case, it really felt like to me, 4 minutes in, that game was over.
Yeah. I mean, Josh Allen, he only threw for 94 yards, so not even 100, like you said. And the reason I put the Cowboys got cooked was because James Cook, I believe, ran for 179
Yeah.
yards, but he ended up getting over 200 yards total. So the Bills weren't just reliant on running the ball with him, they were using him in the passing game also. I think it's interesting how Buffalo's offense has suddenly taken off since they made the move to Joe Brady. Remember where Joe Brady had success? Who was his quarterback? Joe
Joe
Burrow.
Burrow.
Who did he have around him? He had Jamar Chase and like all those other great weapons at LSU.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire as
Clyde
well out of the
Edwards-Helaire.
backfield.
Yes. I believe
I believe Justin Jefferson was there as well.
yes. I believe Randy Moss's son was on that
Yep,
team
and
as
he was a
well.
pretty good tight end for that LSU team, even though he's not,
Yes.
an NFL player.
But my point there is like it feels like Joe Brady's kind of gone back to his LSU days with this version of the Buffalo Bills offense. And obviously I mean that in the highest possible, regard because we saw what LSU did in 2019, just steamrolling their way to a national championship. Nobody could stop them. So
the one thing that does worry me about Buffalo going forward is if somebody does stop that run game and Josh Allen does once again have to throw for 300 or so, are they going to be able to sustain this success in the postseason? You mentioned the Chargers this week. They should absolutely kill the Chargers. New England. Listen, New England beat them earlier in the year. They are not playing great football, but their defense is very good. I would not be surprised if that game is closer than we all think.
no.
I think Buffalo will win. Wait, you're saying no, New England beat them earlier in the year, Josh. So how would you not give New England just a slight chance to win? Belichick is not tanking. Belichick is coaching for his job.
Yeah, I know, but the Patriots offense, I don't see how they can.
They put up 25 on Buffalo, or 29. It was 29 they put up on them. And
What have they done
controlled that
since
game.
then? What have they done since? Nothing.
Yeah, but you know what? They beat Pittsburgh. Nobody thought that they would beat Pittsburgh. Guess what? They went on Kansas City in the third quarter. Like, let's not pretend it's going to be a 50-0 Buffalo blowout.
Anyway, so let's get to the game.
See, Josh doesn't want to answer my question because Josh knows in the back of his head, there's a chance.
Okay, you want me to answer the question?
Fine. Yeah, you didn't answer it.
Fine. Bill Belichick has no chance of beating the Buffalo Bills.
0. Do you want to put something on that?
I'm not a gambler.
Do you want to put something on that?
I'm not a gambler.
Josh. Okay. You know what? I know you're laughing. This is so funny, right? The DK Metcalf.
Seahawks.
DK Metcalf just makes an incredible catch over a lost James Bradbury, and then Julian Love makes an incredible interception. How did he get his feet down? I have no idea how he got his feet down. But regardless, listen, my defense, 92 yards.
Patricia is your defensive coordinator now,
My
buddy.
defense gave up 92 yards in 100 seconds to Drew Lock. And all of his completions besides the touchdown pass were on third down. That's impossible. This Eagles defense cannot get off the field. It's one of those years, it's one of those stats. They do well on first down. They do well on second down. They want the opponent wants to get to 3rd and 15 against Philly so they can just run apparently 4 verticals, wherever, pick your matchup and win. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I thought the defense played a great game for 3.5 quarters. I thought the offense, though it struggled a little bit, I thought it did what it had to do outside of obviously the final drive. Yeah, I told you, Seattle is our house of horrors. I told you DK Metcalf, no matter what, always goes off against the Eagles. And James, excuse me.
Wow, you're getting choked up about this game.
James Bradbury was the recipient of all of those catches on the final drive. And no, I'm not getting worked up about this game. I've had this call for the last couple of days. It's allergies. It is what it is. Why I sound like the way I am. Um, but yeah, I'm upset. For the first time in a long time, did not want to talk after the game last night. Was sort of in disbelief that that actually happened.
Well, now you guys are currently in fifth place in the NFC. You trail the Dallas Cowboys in the division. Of course, if you guys win out, you would win the division. So, and you've got the Giants twice in the Arizona Cardinals, while Dallas has to play at Miami this week. They play Detroit after that, and then Washington. So, Dallas has the tougher road. So, I would still give Philadelphia the edge. But Seattle, they are a resilient team. I saw them live and in person earlier this season when they hosted the Browns, which I will never forget that game. I had been waiting for that game for so long. But anyway, getting back to Eagles Seahawks. Pete Carroll, I don't get it. Like, when it's crunch time, Pete Carroll, aside from Super Bowl 49, Pete Carroll seems to just push the right buttons. I don't know how he does it, but it's almost like he's a mad scientist where it's like, oh, this formula will work and this formula will work. Put them together, and the Seahawks somehow pull a win out of the jaws of defeat. Right now, the Seahawks are on the outside of the playoff looking in because they got swept somehow, some way by the Los Angeles Rams.
Because the Rams are a really good team, and the Rams are going to make the playoffs.
I think the Rams and the Seahawks both make the playoffs. Minnesota's going to fall out. That's just my.
Interesting.
That's
Interesting. I'm not going to say you're wrong on that. I'm going to give you a good news scenario for my Eagles team because even though it's improbable, we've seen in this NFL season, it's very hard to predict. Once we think something's going to happen, something else happens, like we saw in the last minute or so last night's game. Here's the scenario: the Eagles beat the New York Giants. The Baltimore Ravens defeat the San Francisco 49ers.
we're going to get into that game.
The Philadelphia Eagles defeat the Arizona Cardinals. The Dallas Cowboys defeat the Detroit Lions. The Philadelphia Eagles defeat the New York Giants again.
Oh God, I know where you're going with
And the
this.
San Francisco 49ers lose to the Los Angeles Rams in a win or go home game week 18, and the Philadelphia Eagles can still, by the skin of their teeth, receive the number one seed of the NFC. I'm not saying it's going to happen. There's a 2% chance it could happen, but it's not over yet. I do think the Eagles probably more than likely end up as the 2 seed. I think the Lions will drop a game, whether it's to Dallas or Minnesota. I think my team will win out. If I had to guess, San Francisco probably does beat the Rams in week 18. We'll talk about the Ravens game in a little bit. But I think that, we talked about San Francisco earlier in the year. You said it was panic time when they lost 3 in a row. They haven't lost since. All it takes is a couple games to get your confidence back. Christmas Day, this Eagles team has an opportunity to go out there and beat down the New York Giants and get their confidence back.
You need it because you've now lost 3 in a row, and you got absolutely manhandled in 2 of those games against San Francisco and Dallas. And I have to say it. We haven't really talked about the importance of, or excuse me, we have talked about the importance of coaching many times on this show. I think the Eagles right now are missing both Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon, who took head coaching jobs in Indianapolis and Arizona, respectively. Your offense has not looked the same this season. Your defense has certainly not looked the same this season. And maybe you guys, and I think part of it is you guys have been playing through this really difficult stretch. um, Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, Dallas, now Seattle. I think Dallas was at the start of that stretch as well. But my point still still reigns true, where I think you guys are truly missing Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon, who again took head coaching jobs in Indianapolis and Arizona, respectively.
I'm going to
Shane's
tell you the
go.
two biggest differences between last year's Eagles team and this year's Eagles team. One on offense, one on defense.
I just
Offensive,
told you them.
no, I'm talking about on the field, and they both have to do with coaching. Offensively, turnovers. Jalen Hurts has turned the ball over more this year, twice as much this year as he did last year, more at this point this year than he has at any other point in his career. Part of it's been bad decision making, part of it's been bad luck. Like again, last night he throws that ball to Quez Watkins. Quez doesn't run underneath it. The DB makes a great play. And then, of course, the last play of the game, another turnover. Defensively, the difference is, and I don't know if this is part of Gannon. I don't know if it's scheme. I don't know what it is. My defensive line is not getting the same pressure. They're getting close. There were many times in that last drive where Hassan Reddick is a hitch away from Drew Lock, just misses him by an inch, and DK Metcalf goes off on that final drive. It's been a game of inches this year for the Eagles defensive line. They're not getting us home as much, especially on third down. James Bradbury has been the biggest regression at corner I've seen in a long time in the NFL. Went from a top corner to getting absolutely torched. And he had to play last night because Darius Slay was out. It sounds like Avante Maddox could be back for the postseason. Could they move a Kiwi Ringo or an Eli Ricks to the outside and put Bradbury as your fourth defensive back? I don't know. I think that's an option. Bradbury's just been getting torched all season long. And that is really the difference. Shane Steichen, yes, made a huge difference. Jonathan Gannon, yes, made a huge difference. But it ultimately comes down to you're not getting the ball, you're turning the ball over at a record rate and you're not getting off the field on third down.
It's also that I don't think they're giving AJ Brown enough touches. I really don't.
Well, I think that they tried to last night, and again, part of it, and again, Jalen Hurts on the last play of the game. I think what he's thinking is, if I go deep and give AJ Brown a shot, maybe we get a pass interference, or the very least, there's going to be 7, 8 seconds left on the clock. We have
Yeah,
one
I
more
didn't
play.
understand either of those play calls late where you guys went deep. I'm like, that's not the time or place for that play call.
See, I think part of it is it's not the play call because there are guys open underneath. It's the read and the progression. And Hurts right now is so locked in on the fact that AJ Brown can go make a play. He's just throwing it up. There's numerous times last night Devontae Smith's open on the cross, Gainwell or Swift or a running back is open underneath. It's Jalen is electing to go with the deep pass.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to get to the rest of week 15. And I want to go first because I was at this Bears Browns game on Sunday. And actually, I'm going to take off my Seahawks hat for this. So, like I said, I was at this game, and the there are the defense cannot keep bailing the offense out like this. It is getting ridiculous. Like, I get it. We have Joe Flacco out there. He's our fourth string quarterback. So we're not operating the offense in the same way if we had Deshaun Watson out there. I understand that. But too many times it would just be 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and defense is right back out on the field. You can't keep relying on your defense to bail you out. It, it's it's not sustainable. It's not a formula to win. We don't have the defense, the caliber of the '85 Bears, the 2013 Seahawks, or the 2000 Ravens, or even the 2007 New York Giants. I get it. We have a great defense this season, but they're not at that caliber where you can just keep putting them out there. Um, so that's my biggest takeaway from week 15 was we can't keep putting our defense out there. It's just not a formula for success.
I'm surprised you didn't lead with this. The man finally got fired. Brandon Staley is finally, 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 finally out of Los Angeles. And they are a team that's going to be very interesting. They're going to have a top five pick, it looks like, in next year's draft. Star quarterback Justin Herbert, good weapons, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Good defensive line, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James. You know what it smells like to me, Josh?
Bill Belichick?
Bill Belichick next year, your head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers.
Is he willing to not be the general manager, though?
See, this is where I think it's interesting because the Chargers also fired their general manager, Tom Telesco. I think Bill Belichick is going to be the head coach and the general manager of the Los Angeles Chargers next year.
And I don't think that's a recipe for success.
Well, I'll say this. Belichick, we banged on him. He's a defensive coach. He's not done good in the draft room. But the Chargers have what New England doesn't have. Weapons and a quarterback. And we know Bill will make that defense good. New England's defense is really good this year, especially over the last 6-7 weeks. They have not been able to score. Maybe he keeps Kellen Moore as an offensive coordinator. Maybe he goes out and hires his own offensive coordinator and lets that OC run this show with Herbert. But I think that this Charger team, they have the pieces in place to go out and win games and be very successful with the right head coach.
Yes. Well, we now have a three-way tie atop the AFC South. Jacksonville, Indianapolis, and Houston. So this is going to be very interesting the rest of the way. Because I could see a scenario where Jacksonville falls down and does not even make the playoffs. I know they have Doug Peterson at head coach, and he's won a Super Bowl, and he's had plenty of success. I get it. But you look at the way Houston is playing.
They barely beat the Titans. Don't give me the way Houston's playing.
Okay, fair.
They're not playing well.
Okay, but look at what the Colts are doing with Gardner.
I tried to tell you before the year, I like this Indianapolis Colts team. And they're doing it without even Jonathan Taylor.
It makes me wonder what the Colts would look like if they had Anthony Richardson healthy.
They'd be really good. I think that they would probably win one or two more games. I think they'd be the division leader right now.
Yes. I still wish the Colts were in the AFC North with us because the last couple of times the Browns have played the Colts, it's been a great game, and I'd love to see them more than once a season.
When Shane Steichen got hired, I said the Colts just got a star. We all knew it. If there was one coordinator of the Eagles I wanted them to lose, it was Gannon. If I had to choose one, I did not want to lose Steichen. We all knew there was going to be a little bit of regression there. Shane Steichen he's a masterful play caller. He's a masterful quarterback whisperer. What he's doing in the tougher AFC with Gardner Minshew, who has been more hot than cold, and Minshew and Steichen have a great relationship, going back to their days in Philly. I think this Colts team is really good. Unlike you, I don't know if they're going to win the division. I still think Jacksonville with Doug Peterson, with Trevor Lawrence, that experience, I do think they have a good shot. They have Carolina coming up here in the next week or two. I believe it's week 17. So I do like what the Jags are doing. I told you this, when they were on their 5-game winning streak. They don't have the pass rush. They don't have the elite offensive line to separate them from the likes of at the time when Cincinnati had a Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Miami, your Buffaloes. They're not that team yet. And as I've been saying with Houston, I know CJ Stroud has been injured, and Case Keenum came in and had that incredible comeback. Caused me a perfect week in betting. I was 4-for-4, and then Case Keenum had to happen there at the buzzer, as I had Tennessee at 2.5. But
you had the Tennessee Oilers?
Yeah, and Will Levis, they didn't move the ball in the second half. It's whatever. I don't think the Texans have been playing good over the last month. Very interesting game. I know we'll get to it here against Cleveland this week, but yeah, I if I had to guess, my hierarchy right now would be Jacksonville, Indy, Houston.
I would say Indy ahead of Jacksonville right now. I think the Colts have been playing better than the Jaguars recently.
Problem is, I can't trust Gardner Minshew week to week. I mean, they did not look right against Cincinnati.
Fair. If the Colts get into the playoffs, I think Shane Steichen should win Coach of the Year.
And I would agree with you, except there's one problem with that. Kevin Stefanski. I know we banged on him. I know we don't like his conservative play calling. We don't like he runs jet sweeps at the time and all these tight end screens. But Josh, you're on Joe Flacco, who came off the street from watching football at his parents' house at Thanksgiving, the quarterback in the Browns, the playoffs. Kevin Stefanski, to me, you can write his name down on that piece of paper, should be the coach of the year if this Browns team makes the playoffs. You had 25% of their caps on IR.
Okay, I know we'll get to the Browns Texans game a little bit later, but let me just say this because it happened again on Sunday. When the Browns have gone against a mobile quarterback, their defense has had major problems, whether it's been Lamar Jackson twice, Geno Smith, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields even gave them problems. So the fact that we'll see if CJ Stroud is healthy and able to play on Sunday as a Browns fan, that scares me. That really does. Because, like I said, from my perspective, the Browns defense has struggled against mobile quarterbacks. Geno, Lamar, Russell Wilson, Fields. I'm nervous.